Welcome, everyone, to the Sideline Report. I'm Marvin Jackson. The Washington Commanders have won twice in the same season against the New York Giants. And that doesn't happen often, especially in the last few years. Not only beating them twice, but it's also a division game. So that was a great victory for them this past week. And here to discuss that and the upcoming game against the Pittsburgh Steelers are Donna Hopkins, Lou Holder, and our special guest, NFL insider, Lake Lewis, the old Penn State guy. He's here with us. And welcome to the show, Lake.
Hey, appreciate you guys having me back on.
He said the old Penn State guy.
It's like a family meeting.
Yeah. What you mean by that, Donna?
I'm just saying, he just said the old Penn State guy.
Yeah,
I'm not starting anything.
Yeah.
Lou, that is like family. She's just starting from as soon as we get on.
Hey, listen, I'm a Rutgers guy. I can't say anything.
There you go.
Hey, it's still Big Ten love.
It's still Big Ten. That's right. And Maryland, I tell you, that's always a tough out for Maryland. Tough game for Maryland. Hey, let's talk about this last game. But we have some breaking news. The Washington Commanders pick up Marshon Lattimore, cornerback. And on the last day of the trade deadline, Lake Lewis, talk about how big that is for Washington.
It's huge. It addresses a big need for this team. You know, everything that they've done well this year, and but their secondary has still, I think been a little bit behind the curve. They've played better over the past few weeks, but they just didn't have one of those lockdown corners that could guard the other team's best player. And I think for them to go out and get a guy in Marshon Lattimore, not just any old corner. I mean, this is a 4-time Pro Bowler who's still young. And I think, for him to be able to leave New Orleans and come to Washington where they're playing for something, and now, this trade, it shows that they're trying to compete, not just, next year and the year after, but they're trying to make a run at this thing this year. And I think he's a big catalyst for what they're going to be able to do going forward.
Just think of last year. I mean, we were, the sellers with Montez Sweat and Chase Young. And, the reason why the San Francisco 49ers picked up a Chase Young is because they wanted to make a deep run and they thought that Chase Young could probably help. It's the same thing now with Adam Peters. Just follow the mindset here. I mean, you do not make a move like that. Like Lake said, you do not make a move like that unless you're thinking you're going to deep in the playoffs and you're thinking about the teams that you could possibly play, the Eagles, the Rams, the Lions, who all have, wide receivers galore that you need to start addressing those needs. So yes, this is for now. And then you also, with Adam Peters, that you had all of those draft capital and stuff like that for times like this to use it and then still have things left over for next year. So the Adam Peters, joy, happy, Santa Claus type of situation is happening again. He is the most important part of this past offseason. Getting Adam Peters has trickled down in so many ways, and we're starting to see it even now.
Yeah, Adam Peters just keep dialing up winners. I mean, he's always on the job. We never know what is going to come next from his arsenal. So when you look at them and you look at this Commanders team of the team that they have to play, Pittsburgh Steelers coming up, that's Philadelphia Eagles next Thursday with A.J. Brown being back there with the Philadelphia Eagles, it helps them too. Also, the thing out there was that Lattimore was nursing a little hamstring injury. I don't know how serious that is, but this is the thing about him is he may not be a person that plays right off. I don't know. I'm just saying that. But the Commanders have this guy for the long haul because this is an area, as Lake and Lou said, coming into the season, they knew that the cornerback position needed to be addressed. And so they're finally starting to do that, as they say, as far as, to get this guy at this stage of the game. this is important for this Commanders moving forward as far as getting a guy like him that, as Lake said, is still young, building this team with young players.
Hey, let's talk about this game, the past game. That game against the Giants, I thought was very big to get that second win in a season. That tells me that this team is totally in a different direction. And what was the significance of sweeping the Giants for you guys, especially with them being a conference team, and then you got to go play the Eagles soon? I mean, what do you guys think the significance of that was?
Every divisional game that you can get and you can win 2 in that division against the Giants, something they hadn't done for a long time, is so important. Even the players talked about that after the game, the importance of winning. Terry McLaurin said, man, well, we haven't beat them in the longest time, twice in one season. Anytime that you can build, with the Eagles being at 6-2 right now, and Commanders at 7-2, you have to win those divisional games if you plan on taking the division too. So that was huge in a lot of ways. The Commanders don't beat divisional games. I don't even think they won one divisional game last year. So to get 2 against the Giants is so key.
Yeah, and it also shows that they're taking care of business. They're beating bad football teams. And if you're going to be a good football team, or even borderline, a great team, you've got to take care of the teams that have no business stepping on the field with you. And although the final score in that game may look close to some people, and Washington did down the ball at the 1-yard line, they could have scored again. The game was never in doubt. I mean, the Giants, were moving the ball, in the second half against Washington's defense. But at no time did you ever really get the sense that Washington couldn't just do what they wanted to do offensively whenever they wanted. And they did do that. So for them to be able to beat the Giants twice in a season, it's just signaling that things have changed. And, they're not going to be the bottom feeder anymore. It's going to be, right now the Giants and the Cowboys, and Washington's going to battle it out with Philadelphia. And for them, again, to go back to making that move today, that's to address some of the things that we saw last week in New York, where, at times they couldn't get the stop that they needed to get. Now they'll have a guy that can shadow the other team's best player and do that. And if you think about what they've done in just this brief year so far, we're at the halfway mark, for them to be able to do what they're doing and learn from that first game against the Giants, where it was a lot of field goals. Well, they scored when they needed to. They were up 21-7 at halftime. And that's the sign of a good football team, to put a bad team away early and don't give them any hope.
Hey, Lou.
Dan Quinn should be up for Coach of the Year. Dan Quinn has got to be up for Coach of the Year, because the way he had that team, even when they're not playing well, right? And the bite that was the most significant for me in the locker room afterwards was when Bobby Wagner was talking like they're not satisfied. There's still things that they need to play better. That is the sign of a team that, like Lake said, you expect to beat teams like that. And you know what? The first half of the season is over, 7-2, right? But now, you just mentioned it, Donna, you got the Steelers, you got the Eagles, and you got the Dallas Cowboys. I don't care what their record is. When the Dallas Cowboys come in here, it's a division game, and now it starts to, and we all talked about it. We have talked about it. November and December football does not look like September and August and September and October football. It just doesn't. So now the big time moves that they're making and things that are happening is because this second half of the season, right, is going to tell a lot. By the time we get out of November, we will know a lot about this team. And when you hear Bobby Wagner say, hey, look, there's still things that they need to work on, clean up. Quan Martin said they got to get off the field on third down. There's still some things that they just want to dominate on defense. So that is the sign, and it's coming from Dan Quinn. This is all coming from Dan Quinn. And if he's not up for Coach of the Year, or the leader in the clubhouse for Coach of the Year, something's terribly wrong in the NFL.
Hey, Lake, what do you think about this connection between Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin? I mean, Terry McLaurin looks like the guy we thought he was going to be, I mean, he's making great catches, but there's a certain connection those two have. Did you expect it to be this soon, Lake?
I expected it to be better than what we've ever seen from Terry. And I've earlier in the year, even going back to, the off season, I actually challenged Terry to be, we wanted to see if he could be an elite alpha number one receiver, not just Washington's number one, but a number one that gets that recognition around the league as potentially a top 5 receiver. And his numbers have shown that he, statistically he has been, but I don't think anyone ever considered him like that. Not in the same breath of the Jamar Chases and Justin Jeffersons. Well, now that he's got a quarterback, he's got a guy that is elevating his game. It's making Terry look just like that, like he's a number top 5 receiver. And I think for Washington, the fact that both these guys are still young, I mean, Jaden's uber young, and Terry's been around for 6 years, but he's still young by football standards. I just think right now you're seeing Terry's smile as bright as it can be. He's rejuvenated, invigorated. He's ready to just keep ascending as far as his craft and his position. And I think Washington's got a dynamic punch right there at that spot. Noah Brown's coming on as well, so it helps Terry not have to do everything. But yeah, I like what I'm seeing, and I think that they've got a great tandem right now.
Washington Commanders have the Pittsburgh Steelers coming up. And Lake, that's a big game, right? Because the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're ready to go into the playoffs themselves. They look really good. They got a battle with the Ravens, and then Washington, they're making their playoff push. They're basically in, as far as I'm concerned, because there's only one other team in the NFC East that's dueling with them. So I think both those two teams, them and the Eagles, will probably make it in. Lake, how big is this game, and what are the key matchups with the Steelers?
Yeah, this is another big game for sure, because this is another team that has a winning record. Now everyone's going to start asking, who the Commanders beat and, things like that. And this is another chance to silence those naysayers and keep this magical season going. And it's also a chance to do it against a team that's going to have a huge following. Everyone knows Pittsburgh is probably the best travel team in the NFL and one of the biggest, fan bases nationwide. So yet again, you get a chance to do it against a traditional team that has a large fan base. And it's going to be important, too, for Jaden Daniels, because what I'm looking forward to in this football game in particular is, Mike Tomlin, although he's the coach of the Steelers, everyone knows he still has his thumbprints all over their defense. And they're a defense that gives you multiple looks, and they bring a lot of pressure. But they disguise a lot of things. And, it's just going to be interesting to see how Jaden Daniels, who's having this great rookie season and nothing, phases him. He's unflappable most of the time. But I want to see how does he handle, TJ Watt coming off the edge. And, they've got a really good secondary with Joey Porter, Penn State, of course, and then Minkah Fitzpatrick in the back end, So this is going to be a good one. And this is going to really be able, as, Lou said a little bit earlier tonight, it's going to gauge where this football team is against a legit playoff caliber team in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think Lou speaking from me already, but I think Lake basically hit it when he talked about the defense of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're one of the better ones. I think it's going to be a big test this week for the Commanders' offense. But one thing about Pittsburgh is they've had problems defensively with quarterbacks like a Jaden Daniels that runs and creates the problems for any defensive team, but they still are a strong team outside of that. And I think it's going to be a big task on the other end as far as for the Commanders defense facing, Russell Wilson, that has basically come in and, started to move that team, even though they were winning with Fields. He makes them even better at everything. So it's going to be a good matchup between these two teams. Both of them have pretty good defenses. As far as the offense, who can out coach each other. And Kingsbury, I think, is going to be key this week as far as what he dials up for Jayton and the offense. But I'm impressed with the Commanders' offensive line. We don't give them enough credit, and what they have done, in the past 4 weeks is amazing as far as their blocking. The run game is going to be key for this Commanders team coming this weekend against Pittsburgh. And if they can, they've been averaging over 100 and some yards per game. When have we seen that? So it's a huge game for this Commanders team. I think it's a game that they can measure exactly where they are as a team.
These 3 games, the Steelers up first, is going to be that litmus test of where this team is actually. I mean, next to John Harbaugh, I mean, this is the best coach that they're going to be going up against as far as Mike Tomlin. He has his team prepared. The players, I mean, Lake has said it, Donna has said it. There are players of notable influence on either side of this football field, right? Unlike with the Giants, where you go in, it's like those are the words of Bobby Wagner and Terry McLaurin afterwards. This is a team that they were supposed to be in the Giants. That's not the case with the Steelers. This Steelers team is 6-2, and the only reason why they're not 7-2 is because they had a bye last week, right? So you have a team now that is really going to be a huge test, and Donna hit it straight on the head. Cliff Kingsbury is going to be the person to watch, because if the Steelers do what they do on defense, it's going to be up to Cliff Kingsbury to use those weapons. Zach Ertz, Luke McCaffrey, Noah Brown, everything at his disposal, all the Eckler out of the backfield, all these things that we have seen Kingsbury use in the past. Don't stop now. Don't stop now because we're 7-2. We want to see this as far as a measuring stick for Kingsbury throughout the second half of the season, too, and putting the jugular on teams. And there's the 4-0 at home. 2 things that he wanted to see early on with this Washington Commanders rebuild or reboot. Winning your games in the division, check. Winning your games at home, check. Now you come home, and again, this is the last team that they're playing in the AFC North. Let's see what happens.
Hey, Pittsburgh's only given up 14.9 points per game on defense. Washington's given up 21 points per game. I think the defenses are really going to be important this week. And what do you guys think? Maybe Lake can talk about this. Watt, can they keep Watt off of Jaden Daniels?
Yeah, I mean, they did. Listen, one thing that it has gone under the radar outside of the area, I mean, we know it from covering the team, but Washington's offensive line has done an outstanding job this year. I mean, Bobby Johnson, you have to give him a lot of credit, their offensive line coach, because they've stonewalled a lot of people. And if you go back to Sunday's game, Brandon Coleman, coming off a concussion, he had to play the whole game because, Cornelius Lucas was injured. I don't think Brandon Coleman's ever coming out. He's the entrenched left tackle going forward. So he's going to have his hands full. He's a rookie. He's going to be going up against the Defensive Player of the Year from a couple years ago. We all know about the Watt brothers, how, dominant they can be. So this will be another good test. But yeah, I do think that they're going to be able to draft up some things that, maybe some other teams may not have been able to do. Now, the one thing I do want to say is that Pittsburgh's defense is comfortable playing against a guy like Jaden, who can get out and make some things happen with his legs, because they go up against Lamar Jackson 2 times a year. So there'll be some familiarity with this type of mobile quarterback. But I don't know if they've seen, Lamar, no offense to Lamar, because he's my favorite player in the league and on pace to be maybe a 3-time MVP. But Jaden is just a better passer. And I think that, that may surprise Pittsburgh and catch them off guard a little bit.
And the up-tempo. Let me just throw that in. I don't know if Pittsburgh is used to the up-tempo the Commanders do. I mean, every team that Commanders have played so far, they've had problems with that up-tempo offense. And the Commanders has protected the ball. Only 3 turnovers in the year. So
wow.
I think Kingsbury, look, 9 games into the season, you turn the ball over, so they protect the ball. But I think that, like you hit it on, I think that the blocking is so key. But Kingsbury uses the tight end so greatly, and they have been playing well also this year. So I wanted to shout out to them also about that, because I think that him utilizing everybody across his offense is so key moving into this. But I think Pittsburgh is going to have their hands full in that hurry up-tempo offense that Commanders plays.
Hey, one quick thing. When they played Cleveland a couple weeks ago, Myles Garrett was invisible. Invisible. This was a premier pass rusher, premier something in the league. All this, hype about Myles Garrett. Brandon Coleman Griffin, all them together, Cornelius, they held him invisible, right? So it's not like, going back to what Lake said, this offensive line deserves so much credit. I mean, from Tyler Biotish, which is Marvin Jackson's favorite player on the Commanders, because he always talks to him. I mean, but he's one of our go-tos now in the locker room.
Hey,
His time in Dallas has made him so tested, so battle-tested that he knows, right? And Allegretti and Cosme, they are forming a bond that is not, like Blake said, not talked about enough. They keep Jaden Daniels clean. Now, the first couple of weeks and even times during the year, Jaden Daniels has masked a lot of things that could have gone wrong on that offensive line and in that offense. But nowadays, that offensive line is holding their own. Jaden Daniels is doing what he needs to do, but that offensive line is holding their own, and premier pass rushers are not showing up on the stat sheet at all during this Washington Commanders season so far.
How does a team go this far without making turnovers? You know, I mean, Lou, while you're right there on camera. I mean, it's a testament to Jaden Daniels. He protects the football.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He's protecting the football. Yeah, we've seen all the throws and everything. Terry McLaurin said that second touchdown that he threw to him right before halftime, he said it was like he walked it into him. His accuracy with the football and his care for the football, that is the main reason. That is the main reason why this team has only turned the ball over 3 times in 9 games. It's fascinating. It's phenomenal that, you're protecting the football. I mean, and you think of all those times where Eckler's had the ball and they hold the ball right. I mean, but the big time, Jaden Daniels touches the ball every single play and he doesn't turn the ball over.
Well, he did that. Remember, even in college at LSU, he did not turn over the ball. So that's his, his trademark is that he really protects the ball, and fumbles and everything. They haven't had that to deal with either. So that's one reason why this team is, wow, can we say that again? 7-2. None of us saw that.
His slide is still under construction, though.
The slide we got to work on, right?
Maybe
we can learn from Russell this week. Russell's pretty good. So is Mahomes. They were baseball players.
Russell Wilson's having to slide a lot. They're in trouble.
hey, Lake. He's not gonna run like he used to.
Exactly.
He's not gonna take off.
Wilson out sliding you
because Frankie Louvu is there and they know it.
Exactly.
And Jeremy Chin. Jeremy Chin.
You know what? Another thing that people don't talk about, and it's great points with Lou and Donna as far as Jaden not turning the football over. People don't understand he's got great awareness in the pocket. And a lot of times mobile quarterbacks and guys that can run and make things happen, sometimes they're susceptible to having the ball stripped from them, like from a blind spot or whatever. But he just doesn't flinch under pressure. And, he makes the throws that he needs to make. And for the most part, he will take off on you, and I haven't seen anyone catch him yet. The only thing that catches Jaden Daniels is the sidelines, because that's where he goes to, so he doesn't have to take any unnecessary hits. So, yeah, he just doesn't turn the football over.
Yeah, he's just so fast, like you said, and he escapes so much that other quarterbacks they're getting tackled, and he just always gets away from those tackles.
I got a name for him, guys.
Yeah.
Jaden, we should start calling him Brodini.
Hey, Lake, because if you go back to that game a couple of games ago where that one player from Chicago thought that he had his heels and all he did was do an okie doke jump in the air and he missed him. It's all, like you said, that awareness of just doing what you have to do to get away from the defenders. Yeah, so that was one of my favorite plays so far.
Yeah, not Houdini, Brodini.
Yeah. Hey, Lake, you think we can get Lou to say that this team is one of the top 5 or 6 teams now in the
Come
the
on,
league?
Lou. Come on,
There
man.
you go.
Let's go, Lou. Come on, man. Let's say it.
The move that they made by the trade deadline shows that they are.
They are. Okay.
You don't make that, again, you do not make that move if you don't think that you're going deep into the playoffs. And the chances of them not winning 3 or 4 more games to put them at 10 or 11 wins is very unlikely. So yes, they are one of the surprises of the NFL season.
Hey,
Did we
Lake,
just
close
hear
your
that?
mouth. Close
Did
your
we
mouth,
just hear
Lake.
that?
All right. Well,
Close your
thanks,
mouth.
guys. Great job today. And
Brodini.
you guys are great. This was a great team effort by us. And we like to say thanks for joining us on the Sideline Report. Lou, Donna, and Lake. And to all those that watched, thanks a lot for watching. I'm Marvin Jackson. We'll see you next time on the Sideline. Take care, everybody.